That's not good at all, and you can actually see how
Oh boy.
Welcome back to another video. Spax Garage here again. Today we're rebuilding the motor on this 2004 Forester XT. Basically tore down the block already, got everything good to go. I'm going to do painting the intake manifold on the top, black wrinkle paint right here. Already cleaned it up and put it down to a bare block or bare intake. So we're just going to spray that. The other thing that I basically want to do is hone the cylinders, put pistons in, piston rings, and then just put everything back together. So gotta get the timing and everything right, timing belts, the whole works. It's literally a bare block. I'll show you here in a minute. Also, I got a brand new tripod. Yes! So here's the block. Here's how it sits right now. It's EJ25 or 257 is what they call it. It's out of an STI. Basically I tore it down right to bare block. I'll show you the cylinder walls on the inside. There's basically some water damage in there, and that caused a huge amount of oil burn. Here's the heads, they're very clean. There is some issues that I do have with these, and it's not actually with the heads itself, it's with the cams. The cams are worn right down. So basically the lobes on the cams, hey Dotson, what are you doing? The lobes on the cams are worn right out, and I'll get a close-up of that as well. But so paint the intake manifold, start putting hone the cylinders on this guy, put the brand new head gasket on, which I ordered two. Only one came, so I had to order another one. It just arrived today. We'll put the brand new clutch in and my flywheel, which I'm really excited about my flywheel. Where is that thing? Well, I'll find it and then I'll show you. Oh, there it is. I don't have to. So here's the flywheel I have. It is a 2008 Exetti lightweight flywheel.
Just got coffee.
Oh no, she's fine. No, leave it right there. Holy shit! she might need the legs down.
Or just one. Just got one leg.
Alright, so I got it all wrinkle painted. If you look at it up close here, if we can get some focus on it. There we are. You can already start to see some of the wrinkle happening there. Basically, as it dries, it starts to do this like wrinkle effect. And it kind of looks like the factory manifold, so it's going to have wrinkle from the factory and wrinkle from the paint. It's going to look really sharp on the top of the engine bay, because this is the part that you're going to see sitting right here. So make it look way better. It's going to help with some aesthetics, and it actually repels water, which is a neat thing, so it never really looks dirty. But yeah, it's painted, it's good to go. Alright, so I said I'd show you the cylinder walls. If you take a look in here, right on this corner right here, you can see that it's quite scored up, and it's like that on each one of the cylinder walls. So the engine must have been sitting for a while, probably sitting like this, like straight up and down on a vehicle, or in a vehicle, or out of a vehicle, or something along those lines. But basically, from it sitting like that, it must have accumulated water in them, and it creates that scoring on the sides of the walls, so the sides of the cylinder wall. So I have to basically grab the hone machine and hone each one of these out as best I can, so that basically they go away, because the rings, when it passes over this, it like jumps and skips over it a little bit, and while it's doing that, it's pushing oil through and basically putting it up into where the head is and the block, and the oil just burns and goes out the back of the exhaust. So there's not much I can do about that other than hone it. So we're gonna hone it. We'll do a very light honing, make sure it looks as good as possible. And then after it's honed, we can try and test fit our rings in there, make sure they're gonna fit properly, and then start to rebuild the block. All right, so I got the hone on my drill here. You basically just put it in and you spin. As you spin, it spins these around there. Your rod can stay in there, you just basically have to work around it. Push your rod all the way to the bottom of each one of the bores. So I honed it a little bit there, and if you can see right here, you can feel a little bit with your finger, and that is not good. So as I'm starting to hone this, I'm starting to feel more and more basically of the bore that's being taken out there, and all around feels fine, but just this one section has a little bump, and I'm not happy about that. So I have to get that perfectly smooth, and if I have to take down too much, it means I have to get oversized pistons. So we're gonna try and avoid that as much as possible. So I honed the second cylinder here too, and if you can see that line right here, I can feel that line with my fingernail, and I can feel this line also on that side. If we look in the first cylinder I honed, this line right here, you can actually feel very vividly with your finger, and not even just your fingernail. So that's not good at all, and you can actually see how that watermark sat, or however whatever happened here sat. But basically the block must have been laying upright, and it had to have happened that way. Basically, after finding those two fine hairline basically cracks or whatever, like deficiency in the cylinder wall, what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna run to two wreckers that we have here, and we'll check and see if there's any legacies or other Foresters that came with a dual overhead cam 255 block. Although this is a 257 block, it isn't the factory block out of this vehicle. There's a 255 that came in them, and if I can, they're basically identical. I don't know all that much about Subarus. I'm more of a Nissan guy and a Toyota guy. This is actually my fiance's car. I'm trying to get it up and running. I also have a 97 Forester STB. It's a 2-liter, it's the same engine that came in the GC8s. But basically, I'm gonna go check the junkyard, see if I can find a block that's gonna work. And if I can, I'm gonna use that, because this block here is almost too far gone. I pretty much would have to take it to a machine shop. We'd have to get a machine, we'd have to get it figured out again, and go from there. But I'm definitely a little bit disappointed about this, because I was hoping this block would work. I'm on a tight budget right now, and if I were to just hone these cylinders down, put it back together and put it in the car, I'm almost guaranteeing that it would burn oil, like really bad. It would burn oil quick. Just the rings, a small little gap like that can cause a huge amount of oil and coolant, and it's going to cause head gasket problems later down the road. So I'm not even going to bother with it. What I might do is just leave this block for now. I can either sell it or take it to a machine shop and do a bigger build later down the road, but we'll see. So anyways, let's head to the junkyard. All right guys, so ended up going to the junkyard. We went to the first one. They didn't have any dual overhead cams, only had single overhead cams. We went to the second junkyard, and they had four dual overhead cam EJ25s. They're all naturally aspirated. Of course, there's no turbocharged ones, because those would be gone within a matter of seconds. I'm gonna do some Googling. I gotta look into it and find out if the EJ25 dual overhead cam naturally aspirated out of like a 99 Forester or a 2003 Legacy or whatever was out there is adequate or similar to the EJ25 that came in the 2004 XT Forester. I'm almost positive the block is the same. I think it's just different headwork and maybe possibly some different internals. But even if it's super similar or a little bit marginally different, then all I'll do is I'm gonna buy the full engine. So I'll go out and pull it out, do a video about that. And then once it's pulled, which I'll probably go do this tomorrow. They want about 350 bucks for a motor. I'm sure I can get it for a little bit cheaper than that. I know that price seems a little high for something that I'm gonna take a risk on, but basically I need it because I need to get driving this, because my truck drinks like $20 in fuel a day, whereas this would drink about $20 in fuel every 4 days. So it's a big savings on my end of things. So what I'm hoping to do is buy the full motor, or engine, take the heads off it, take a look at the block, put new head gaskets on it, put the new rings on the pistons, and then put the heads from this vehicle on there. And then basically once that's done, I'm pretty sure it's gonna work just fine. I'll put the turbo back on it and, you know, just put it back together like it would have been this block. So that's the plan, that's the game plan. I'm gonna wrap it up here for today. I'll probably go ahead and edit this video for this day. It's only like 3 o'clock, but they do close at 4, so I don't have, I mean, they only take about a half hour to pull, but they also have to grab equipment to grab a crane out there because it's a mud pit, as you saw in the video. So at least then I can just pull it earlier in the day, probably tomorrow morning when it's still a little colder out. That way the ground's a little harder, it's not as muddy. Because I'd rather work in the cold than the mud. I hate working in the mud, it just makes you all dirty. So that's the game plan. We'll see, we'll make it happen. And then hopefully this car will be done tomorrow because I want to drive it and I don't want to drive a truck. Anyways, see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.